G'day guys, Ralph here. Thanks for tuning in. Stoked that you can be with me. I hope you're well. Today I want to talk about one of the most common questions I get asked, and that is, what camera should I buy? Like legit, somebody's come to the point of going, I want to get into photography, or I want to extend my photography angle, or I want to have a certain type of camera for a certain type of job, and they ask, what type of camera should I get? And there's an interesting challenge to that question, which we're going to look at today. So, if you're new here, please subscribe below. Feel free to leave any questions in the comments as we go through, or any insight that you too may be able to offer this conversation. That would be really valuable, really helpful. And we're going to get stuck into this question. So how do you know which camera to buy? What does it look like? The first question I ask back is, what's your budget? Your budget is so key in this whole conversation, because you could spend between $200 and $200,000 on a new camera. Now, we're not going to advocate for the higher end. Don't worry about that. But what's your budget? And so I say to people, what's your budget? And they might say it's $1,000, or they might say it's $100. And what you can get with $100 is very different to what you can get with $1,000. Is very different again to what you can get with $2,000 or $3,000. And again, that depends on how invested they are in photography and where they're going and where that's leading them. So they might say a figure around the budget idea. And then we have something to work with. And so then I ask, well, what about second-hand or brand new? Do you mind if it's a second-hand body and lens, or do you really want brand new? Because that, again, funnels the decision-making process. And this is what this video is about. It's about helping you narrow down what camera might be the best camera for you and how to do that. And so we start with budget, and then we go to, well, second-hand, new, and then we go to what brand. So I asked you, Nikon, do you want Canon, do you want Sony, do you want Fuji, do you want Olympus? There's a number of reputable brands out there. I shoot with Nikon because I've always shot with Nikon. I've got friends that shoot with Canon because they've always shot with Canon. I've got other friends that have changed systems over the years. And so I say to people, are you familiar with any type of system? And they might say, I played around with a Canon once, or I once had a Nikon, or though I haven't had any, but those Sony look good. And so we start to narrow down a search path for them to explore. So we've gone budget, we've gone secondhand or brand new, then we've gone what brand is most helpful. Then I ask the question, well, what do you want to use it for? And people have two answers to this question. There's a correct answer and an incorrect answer. And the incorrect answer is, well, photos, but video might be good too. I might get it for video. Let's make sure I get it for video. That is the incorrect answer. The correct answer is stills, video, both, but it's convincing. So if someone's not convincing, what you want to go is strip it back, because if they're buying a camera to shoot stills on, they're probably not really going to use it for video. But if they're buying a camera to vlog on, they're probably not going to use it a great deal for stills. But if they want a versatile camera that can do both, then they need to be convinced of that. So you shouldn't buy a camera based on, I'm going to do this with it, but maybe one day I'll stretch into that. That's not the way to go. The way to go is to go stills or video. Now, if you're going stills, I always look to what's the most megapixels, best autofocus, works best in low light camera you can get within the budgetary and the brand realms that we've already talked about. So that's where I go. And also we're looking at age, but we'll get to age in just a moment. If we go to video, video is a different beast completely. Is it vlogging? Is it to take videos for a client? Is it just to muck about with? What's the capacity of this video? Is it to shoot a certain set show or thing every week? Is it to get some cool B-roll to maybe put around your other stills when you're trying to appeal to a new audience? What do you want to use the camera for? Because that determines greatly what features you'll need. So for example, with vlogging camera, you really want a flip screen like this that flips out so you can look at your face while you're vlogging. You can frame the shot nicely instead of guessing. You also want external audio. It's really important that I have a microphone that hangs just here you can't see it, but really close to my mouth. So you get a quality of audio, because audio is more important than video when it comes to video. Ironic, right? So you need external audio so you can plug a microphone in. Then you want to look at, does it have auto face detect on the autofocus? What lenses can you put with it? Can you put a wide enough lens on? Is the kit lens that you get with it going to be good enough? Can it shoot 1080p, so HD, or does it need to shoot 2.7 or 4K? How necessary are the specs for that video? How many frames a second do you need it? Do you need it 24, or do you need it 60, or do you need it 120? Because all of these answers to these questions refine what sort of camera that you're going to be looking for. Then we look at size and weight. And I have a friend who shoots Fuji cameras. They're light, their lenses are light, the whole setup's light. He carries this tiny little bag around with him. And I follow him around with great envy and great jealousy, because my bag is just massive that I have to carry around because of all the gear and stuff I've got in it. But lightweight has never been an issue for me because I've got the guns. Joking. But seriously, I don't mind lugging stuff around. But for some, it's really a factor. And what about size? Do you want something that's really compact? I'm vlogging right now on my M50. It's a tiny, beautiful little camera. It's literally this big. I'd show you, but the video would just be weird because you wouldn't be able to see camera in it. So do you want lightweight? Is size, is weight an issue? Do you have other camera bags that you want to utilize already, or are you willing to step into a whole new realm of gear and what that looks like? Then we come to age of camera, and age is tricky. Some of the greats, oh, didn't think that through, did I? This is Pentax. I guess Pentax make cameras these days, do they? Comment below. You don't hear much about Pentax at all, but this is a manual film camera. This has been around for years. This is the ME, Pentax ME, and it's wonderful. I did a video actually where I took this out and took some shots on it and experimented with what it's looked like, and I'll put that at the end of this video if you like, so you can have a squiz. So not all old cameras, hang on a tick, not all old cameras are bad, but when it comes to the digital folk, there are some that have reached their heyday. Now, how do you know if an old camera that's a digital camera is one that you should invest in? Well, there's this little thing called the shutter count. And the shutter count is how many times this button has been pressed. And you find a shutter count on your thing by taking a photo, plugging in the SD to a computer, loading that photo, doesn't matter what the photo's of, but loading that photo up to a website, I'll put it in the description below, of shuttercount.com or something like that, and it spits out a number of how many times this button's been pressed. And then you can cross-reference the make of the camera. You find the sensor age. So a sensor age is how many shots that camera is likely to do in its lifetime, and you can compare it to that this camera has done. So a brand new camera, 0 shutter count. Second-hand camera has multiple shutter counts. You can then go, well, this has taken 100,000 photos and its life expectancy is 150,000. Do I really want to pay all that money for just the potential of 50,000 shots? You're like, 50,000 shots is a lot, but it's actually not. Look at it, it's like 2/3 of the way through its life. So do you want a newer, fresher camera? That also often corresponds with the year. So I was helping a friend buy a camera the other day, or at least advising on how they might think about it. And he spat me through a whole long list of different cameras, so some Nikon and some Canon and so forth, and I was doing a little bit of research on them. And some of those cameras that were on sale secondhand for $500 or so were 10 or 15 years old. So they were the very first DSLR cameras that came out. And the issue with that is the technology has come on leaps and bounds. So for a couple of extra $100, you can get a much more modern camera than you could back then when they had the limitations. So high dynamic range, which means how the camera handles dark and light in a photo, how well it shoots in low light, how clear and vibrant the sensor is to pick up clarity in your image. All of those things dependent on age. So the younger the camera, the better. But it still needs to satisfy the other prerequisites you have for features. For example, megapixels. How many megapixels do you want? You could shoot on 12 megapixels quite comfortably. But if you want to blow up something that's like a photo, not something else, but blow up a poster that might be 2 meters by 1 meter, you could probably do that with a 12 megapixel. But you wouldn't want to go much bigger than that, because it starts to pixelate and you need to edit that appropriately. And I've done that. But 24, 20, 18, around that is pretty safe territory. If you're looking for just a camera for stills, you may compromise on the sensitivity of the sensor when it comes to video if you're wanting video, but that doesn't matter because you just want video, right? And there's some cameras that are really well balanced for both. This is the Nikon Z6 and it's exceptional at video and at stills, but it doesn't have like a 40 megapixel or 46 megapixel sensor. It only has a 24 megapixel sensor. So it's one of the drawbacks, but it was one that I was happy to go with because the Z7, which is more preferable for video, I still take probably more shots on this than I do video on this. So stills are far more important to me for this camera. So these things you've got to juggle up. And I just recommend getting a notepad and starting to jot down these things. And what you will find is it will steer you toward what sort of camera you should buy. Then I think when you have a bit of a feel for how much you want to spend and what sort of things you want out of your camera, you've got a vague sort of picture. It's important, especially if you're going to go to a shop or go secondhand, to work out what and if any accessories are that you need. So do you need lights, SD cards, batteries, tripods, straps, flash, filters, lens hoods, other lenses? Does your camera need to have interchangeable lenses? So I can put any Nikon or actually any other lens on the front of this camera and it can do all sorts of different things because of the lens. But some cameras, I'll just show you, watch this, have a fixed lens, right? You can't take that off, but one of its strengths is zoom. So I had one mate who really wanted just to zoom in on stuff. Like, he loved bird photography and wildlife photography. He's like, I just want a camera that zooms. So he got a more modern model of a camera like this that only has one lens, but the zoom, like the optical zoom, was amazing, and then it backed it up with the digital. And so he was stoked that he could get in really close with those images that he wanted to get. So what other accessories do you need? Do you need a microphone? Do you need lights? Do you need the ability to put lights on it? And so on and so forth. Right now, if you've been jotting away as we've been going through this, and you might have been rewinding and checking it out, like, oh, what about this? What about that? You've got a bit of a general picture about what you want. Now, when you go looking at cameras are all have a name. So this is the Nikon Z6. I used to shoot with a Nikon D7100. Before that, I shot with a Nikon D7000. So 7000 to 7100 or 7000 to 7100. And then before that, I shot with a Nikon 70D. And the numbers are sequential with the year that the camera was made and the model that the camera is. And so all you need to do is a quick Google search of a feel for what that number on the camera, so M50, Z6, what that interprets into age. And some cameras you can't buy anymore. They're all secondhand. Now, this is the bit that might really help. So once I have if I'm buying a camera, I have a picture of what I want, I then start to look on Gumtree. And I might look through and go, wow, that's a really cheap camera, and I think it jots off the things that I want. I've done a little bit of, I've typed into Google, I've gone Nikon, external audio, high megapixel, interchangeable lens, and I've got a few options that pop out of that for me, and then I go searching for those particular cameras. And you might come up with several options that you then start to review. So you'll see like a Canon 60D, and you might type that into Google and realize that it's no longer made anymore, but when it was made, it was $600. This is all just guesswork, right? $600, and the person selling it now, 12 years for a 12-year-old camera, he's trying to sell it for $500 with two lenses. That's a rip-off, right? 12-year-old camera all the shots and the life and everything it's had, all the abuse that it's probably endured, to then be sold for $100 less. So you go, oh, scrub that. But then you might find the same camera for 200, or it might be 300 and have 2 lenses and a strap and a tripod, and you can start going, oh yeah, that's what I want. Or you may be a little bit higher end and you may say, I've got $1,000, I want to buy a brand new camera. So I would just Google, like, you've already worked out what sort of camera you want, so put in the specs and then under $1,000, or around $1,000, or budget options, and you'll see there's people that have done hours and hours of work in this just to help you find out what the best camera is to buy to meet the needs that you have with the budget that you have. And so rely on those resources, go searching. Be slow to buy, but also realize that if you're gonna stick at photography, you will upgrade. And so I made another video similar to this, but about when you know is the right time to buy the next camera. And so I'll put that at the end of this video also. But you will grow out of your camera as your skills increase. But if you're just starting out, you really want the cheapest you want. And here's, if you're buying secondhand, here's 2 things to note, or 3 things. So low shutter count, no scratches on the face of the lens, just none. So if it has, walk away, Renee. And no scratches on the sensor, very important. If there's a scratch on the sensor, you will be super frustrated, because in every single photo there will be a black dot or a black mark or something that skews every single photo, and you'll just be upset. So I hope that helps when you think about when some of these cameras say cosmetic damage, and so you need to go and look at it and see what the cosmetic damage is. Like, is it just wear and tear on the grip, or is part of the rubber seal on the lens falling off? Is it scratched on the back glass, or is it the fact that it won't autofocus well? Are these buttons jammed up, or one of these functions doesn't work? You need to weigh up whether those limitations are what you're willing to pay for. But there are thousands and thousands of cameras out there, constantly on sale. And so if you've not found the deal that you're looking for, wait. This camera retails at over $3,000, and I bought it brand new for $2,000 because I waited and I searched and I looked, and then I found it. Stoked, brand new. So wait, play the game, wait it out, and you will get what you want, providing it's in that ballpark of what you're willing to pay for. And you'll be able to start using it and enjoying it. Feel really proud that you worked hard, not just to save up the money for this, but then to choose the camera that's right for you. And if you look after your gear, you can resell it for close, providing it's not 10 years later, you can resell it for close to what you bought, and lenses hold their value too. So you'll always pay more for a lens. There'll be less margin of markdown on lenses than there will on camera bodies. I hope this has been helpful, guys. This channel is always meant to be about helping those people who are exploring photography, wanting to be creative in photography, getting into photography, have questions about photography, and to help break open the stuff that I've learned over the years that I really hope will be of benefit to you. So please subscribe below, give me a thumbs up, that'd be super cool, and share this with others if you think it's really helpful and answers some questions for them. And I'll post those other 2 videos now so you can get stuck into them.